let's take it up this thing. Let's see what happens. Whoa! It just stomped right over that. All right, guys, this is the Yoto Leopard full suspension, super fat tire e-bike. Let's open it up and see what it's all about. All right, so this is how it comes shipped to you in the box from the factory. Lots of padding, zip ties. Let's go ahead and let's take it out of the box. And that's what it looks like with the box fully open. This thing is so massive, they didn't install the fork because this box would be huge if they did. This thing comes with 4.8-inch wide tires, which is 0.8 wider than any other fat bike that I've ever had. Let's get this thing taken out of here, fully unboxed and fully assembled. I can't wait to take this out on the trail. Look at these brakes. These are the thickest rotors that I have ever seen. The battery was shipped separately from the bike. This is a massive 20 amp hour battery and it's a 48 volt system. Oh, it's a nice matte green. And it looks like we might have a pro wheel crankset and it is square taper. You also get a manual, a clip-on light, and a 3 amp charger. Just so we can make the install of everything else a little bit easier, let's install the front tire. Here we go. Just look at these brakes. Those rotors are so thick. Can't wait to see what those hydraulic brakes feel like. They look like they could stop a truck. And we're getting our first look at the rear suspension. It looks like it's a Hot brand, and they're claiming that this is an 850-pound shock, so it doesn't look like it's adjustable in any way. Guys, back here is the first look at the 1,000 watt rear hub motor. This thing should be beefy enough to push this massive bike down the road. All right, enough talking. Let's get the rest of this frame revealed. Ah, nice. Let's see what the back linkage looks like. So to my eyes, this looks like this is like an army green. They call it hunter green. I can see that for sure. It is a matte finish, which looks really, really good. I'll be curious to see how this matte finish actually holds up. And it does look like they put a nice compartment here for things like the controller, so it'll probably be really secure inside there and not exposed to the elements. So I just installed the front handlebars, and it does come with these kind of different grips. Look at these things. Look like they're hand stitched and somewhat ergonomic. That'll be interesting. But check out these brakes. They use .5 fluid. I haven't ever ridden a mountain bike that uses .5 fluid. That's like car equivalent, I think. So as far as the lever goes, these feel really firm. Definitely a heavy duty braking system. We're gonna see how these things perform off-road. And then you do get your Shimano 7-speed shifter. Very nice. Now on the other side over here is the rest of the Pro Wheel crankset. This looks like a massive chain ring. And then back here is your 7-speed cassette along with your turny-rear derailleur. Now being that this is a turny-rear derailleur and a Shimano 7-speed setup, this is gonna probably be a little noisy off-road since this does not have a clutch rear derailleur. It doesn't surprise me. Almost all of these budget-friendly e-bikes, they almost all come with clutchless rear derailleurs. I'm hoping that in the next couple of years, we'll start to see ones that are called off-road start to come with some maybe Advent rear derailleurs that have clutches built in. That way, whenever you do take them off-road, they're not super noisy, but we're gonna have to see how this guy does. Only a couple more things to do. Let's check out the seat. This thing looks massive. Oh yeah, this sucker is a beast with some springs in it. So I guess you're gonna get double rear suspension. And next up, we need to install the computer, but just a fair warning, you need a 3mm Allen key, and they did not supply a 3mm Allen key in the box. One last thing to do, and that's to install the battery. Well, I powered it on. Looks like I installed the display upside down. Let's get that fixed. All right, now that I got this installed right side up, let's just check this out. You get a little control panel that has a power button. Looks like it's got a set button, an up and a down. And it does look like this is going to have 5 pedal assist levels, Does look like it displays your current voltage, which is really nice. And you've got your speed indicator bar over here, and this looks like it displays the miles per hour or kilometers, whatever you're gonna be using. And it looks like we got something to do with watts over here. Total miles, really odd, it says it's got 0.6. That must be them testing it in the factory. And then there is a mode called normal. I'm gonna have to check this out. All right, just breaking into the menu here by holding down the set button for 2 seconds. It does look like you have all kinds of different settings. Let's see if we can increase this. Looks like 25.5 is showing the max. It's interesting because I thought these were 26-inch wheels. Miles per hour. And then what I wanted to get down to is the mode here. Right now it's set to normal mode. Let's put it on power mode. You also have an eco mode. So we'll put it on power mode. I think that's gonna give us a little bit more power, and it will also give us a little bit different color display. It turns this reddish color whenever you put it in power mode. All right, now that we got the Yoto bike set up and ready to go, let's hit up my backyard trail and see how it does. And then I'm gonna mess around with the settings to see if I can make this actually more legal for some of my local trails. So smooth. All right, we're gonna take a non-pathway. We're gonna really put this thing through the mess stuff. Oh man, this is the ultimate test. And it made it. Let's see if we can do this. Feature. Oh, skinny. Oh, barely made it. Let's go. Stomp. All right, we're gonna take on some of the features in my backyard trail because I have a feeling that this beast can actually handle a lot more than a lot of the other e-bikes that I get. I feel like this is what this bike is made for off-roading, maybe getting you out to where you go hunting or just playing around in a field, or maybe your local trails don't have a restriction on what kind of e-bike you can ride on their trail systems, and you could take this out there. These grips do turn a little bit on me, but we'll just have to be extra careful with it. Ooh, I need to get out here and pick up some of these sticks and stuff. All right, let's take it up this thing. Let's see what happens. Whoa! It just stomped right over that like it wasn't even there. Wow. Now it is a little bit cumbersome to turn in some of the tight turns, but that's just to be expected. If you had more of a open, long distance trail without quite as many tight turns, it would be even better, but this thing's doing really well considering how tight of turns I have on my backyard trail here. It does really well. I wouldn't want to have it any higher than pedal assist 1. It's so powerful that you don't really need much more than that whenever you're on this tight of a trail system. If you were going to ride this thing in the snow, it would be unstoppable. I mean, just unreal how much this thing would just crush the snow rides. All right, we're gonna try the drop in here. We're gonna see if we can go down it. A little nerve-wracking because this is such a big bike. We're gonna give it a go here and see how I feel when I get to the top. Oh, shifting, come on, baby. Oh yeah. We made it. This thing does pretty good. It's a little bit scary. Oh, stop. It's a little bit scary because how big this bike is. But I think with a little bit of time and a little bit of practice, I could get even better at it. Now, it would be much, much better if this was a mid-drive for this style of riding, because rear hub motors are typically pretty punchy and they tend to have a little bit longer delay before they actually stop pushing you forward. So having a mid-drive would make this bike a lot more responsive, a little bit better. Here we go. Oh, I almost lost it, but we made it. That was a little sketchy, but we made it through it. I've got a little rock garden right over here. Let's see if it's clear of sticks and debris and we can take it on. Oh yeah, here we go. Woo. That delay in that motor does make it a little bit difficult for some of this trail riding, but this thing just crushes through stuff. Just crushes right through. Just having these big tires really does make you feel like you can stomp over anything. And I'm really pleasantly surprised with the suspension combined with these tires. It really does feel pretty smooth. Oh, I hit pretty hard on that one. Now the downfall is that rear suspension and the front suspension are not adjustable with any air. And that's one thing I would like to see on a bike like this, because an 850-pound suspension, it's got a little bit too high a weight for me, and I find that I'm not using as much of the travel as what I would like. And to see an air suspension up front would be really nice also. All right, I am out here with the Yoto bike, and I am in PAS 1, and I've got this set on normal mode, and it looks like PAS 1 will get you up to about 9 miles an hour. See what PAS 2 will do. This looks like it'll get you right around 14 and a half miles an hour. Let's check out 3. Woo, kicking up. Looking at 19 miles an hour. PAS 4, 23 and a half. And then top of the line, PAS 5. Not gonna go much faster than this. I imagine we can mess with the settings and get this thing to go over 28. But right out of the box, this thing's gonna go about 24, 25 miles an hour. And I've gotta say, I love these fat tire bikes, and this super fat tire bike being 4.8 inches, super stable. I think you could ride this thing in any terrain without hands. It's just, it wants to stay upright. These things are absolutely balanced machines. It's really unreal. And as I suspected, these brakes can stop on a dime. I mean, we're talking a 90-pound plus bike, and it just stops this bike so fast. Something with this big of rotational mass and this much weight, you would suspect that this thing would be very difficult to stop, but these beefy brakes on here just really do the job well. The power output by this 1,000-watt motor is definitely noticeable. It does a really good job of getting this super heavy bike up to speed with no issues. Now, I do wish it shows you watts down here, and it gives you kind of a line chart. I wish it showed us more of a number, but I don't see that as an option whenever I flip through all the different menus to be able to see what the actual number is. Because this bike claims the nominal power is 1,000 watts, but it can peak out at 1,700 watts with 95 Newton meters of torque. With that much power, this thing should be the best hill climber that I have ever tested, with exception to the Rev 1 by Ride 1 Up. So we're heading that way right now. We're gonna go down here, we're gonna slam on these brakes again and see how quick we can get this thing to stop. And we're gonna see how quick it'll climb that 19% hill. All right, we're gonna get up to speed here. Oh, this bridge should feel really good with this suspension. Oh, butter smooth, 28 miles an hour, here we go. Now that was a powerful stop. Both wheels locked up. I felt completely in control. On the blacktop with these off-road tires, it stopped surprisingly well. Typically, off-road tires don't give you as good a traction on like blacktop or concrete whenever you're trying to come to a full stop, but these did a really good job. And I just, again, I love the control feel that you have when you're on these fat tire bikes. All right, here we are. We're at the bottom of my favorite hill to test all of my bikes on. Here's that iPhone footage that shows the real steepness of this hill. It goes on for, I would say, probably a little less than a quarter mile. And we are gonna see 3%, 12%, 15%, and max out at 19%. let's see how well this bike can actually do going up this steep hill. All right, I start out all these hill climbs with throttle first. We're gonna get this thing going for just a second, and then we're gonna start to pedal. Here we go, kick in cadence sensor. All right, let's see what we can get this thing up to. Pedal assist 5 is how I like to do all of these climbs. This is right about the 10 to 12% grade. This thing should pull up this hill like a champ with this huge 1,000-watt motor. We'll definitely be seeing the watt meter peak out whenever we hit this 19%. And right up here by this driveway is where the 19% starts. Ooh, I can already start to feel this bike is heavy, but we are cruising, staying about 13 miles an hour, 12, 11. Just had a little bit of a chain skip. Then gear 1, down to about 10, 10.8. So yeah, this bike did really well. Definitely not the fastest, and not as fast as I thought it would climb up that hill. But again, this bike weighs a lot. It is by far one of the heaviest bikes that I have ever ridden. This test that I'm getting ready to do is one that I also do with all of my e-bikes. And I have real big confidence in this particular bike on the stability test. We're gonna take it back down that super steep hill. We're gonna get up here about 18 miles an hour, and then we're going to stop pedaling and just coast down this hill. And this bike, I already have a feeling, is gonna be absolutely perfect going down this hill. We may not hit the maximum speed that we've seen on other bikes. We're looking about 34.5 here. It is definitely not the fastest, but look at this. No hands going 34 miles an hour. This bike is so stable, it's unreal. With these massive 4.8-inch tires, it can practically stand up on its own. So going down a fast hill is no problem whatsoever. Woo-hoo. And you can do things like that on this bike. Just monster truck over stuff. Look at this. Boom. No issues with the side grip on the side of the tires here. It just grabs onto everything. The downfall of this bike is I can't take this out on my local trails in my area because it's got a 1,000-watt motor and they are limited to 750-watt motors. And even if I take the throttle off and lower the speed down to 20 miles an hour to try to make this more of a class 1 e-bike, I can't, because the speed that I'm changing here does not seem to affect the top speed overall. I set the top speed to 19.9 miles an hour, removed the throttle, and I still got up to about 23, 24 miles an hour, and the bike was trying to assist me. So for whatever reason, inside the computer, I couldn't get the speed to stay low enough. Now, the 1,000-watt motor on here, I'll give or take. That's not that big of a deal in my mind because we're pushing bigger tires. This bike is not going to be pushing super high speeds. But unfortunately, this particular model, I can't take out on my local trails. All right, well, there you go. This is the Yoto bike, and it has been quite the experience riding such a large fat tire full suspension bike. So now that we've done the initial unboxing and the initial ride off-road and on-road, and it conquered the 19% hill, there's a few things on this that I do want to go over that I missed at the beginning of the video. The throttle on this is a thumb throttle, and it does have an on and off switch. So if you want to turn that throttle off, you can trigger this to be off. That way, if somebody does bump that throttle, it doesn't just take off on you. Now, there are a few things that I do wish that I could do on this bike to make this more of a trail legal bike in my area. I can't prevent the 1,000-watt motor, which is higher than the 750 watts that is allowed on my trail system. But being able to lower the speed limit down and actually have that function stick would be really nice. Like I said earlier in the video, I dropped the speed limit all the way down to 19.9 miles an hour, and the bike still went all the way up to its maximum speed of about 24 to 25 miles an hour. I do like how you can remove the throttle and the bike will still function. I have actually used bikes where if you remove the throttle, the whole thing just stops working and it just becomes an analog bike that weighs a lot. So with this one, you have that on-off button, or you can completely remove the throttle if throttle is not allowed on your trail systems. Now, overall, the Yoto bike has been really impressive. If you're looking for a powerful rear hub motor that has super big fat tires and also a really decent full suspension setup, the Yoto bike may be the bike for you. If you guys want to pick up a Yoto bike or do a little bit more research on your own, I would appreciate it if you use my links below. That lets Yoto bike know that you came from my video. And if you use those links and you decide to pick up a Yoto bike, use my coupon code that I have listed down in the description. For the time being, that is a $100 off coupon code. I'm not sure how long Yoto bike is actually going to allow that to run, but as of right now when this video is released, that is a valid coupon code that can save you up to $100 off. So if this bike is not the bike for you, you may want to check out my playlist at the end of this video or down in the description. I've reviewed over 26 e-bikes this past year, and one of those may be the bike that works perfectly for you. All right, guys, we'll see you in the next one.